Today I'm talking about one of my favorite films from one of my favorite filmmakers, and that is John Waters' 1974 classic, Female Trouble.
Female Trouble. She had a lot of problems. Coming soon from Saliva Films.
Female Trouble is the fourth feature from John Waters, and it rides on the success of Pink Flamingos, which came before it. And Pink Flamingos was introduced to me and John Waters as well through a documentary called Midnight Movies from Margin to Mainstream. And this documentary really opened my eyes to a number of great filmmakers that have had huge influence on me. People like David Lynch, George Romero, Alejandro Jodorowsky, and John Waters. When I saw the clips from Pink Flamingos in the documentary, I was instantly clicking with the humor. I was instantly drawn to the filmmaking style, the characters, and I knew I had to see it. And once I saw it, I was hooked into this world. And when I found out there was tons of films in his canon, I went through all of them. And I have to say the one that stuck out the most to me was Female Trouble. Female Trouble starts to diverge a bit from his earlier three films in that he, in the first three, relied more on sight gags, gross out humor, and these sort of caricatures of people. And Female Trouble starts to become more plot-centric, starts to have character arcs and changes, and that was really appealing to me as a writer and a filmmaker. When I saw this, I was instantly drawn again to the humor and the fact that he had been developing as a filmmaker over time. But this is kind of a nice median point before John Waters becomes a bit more grounded and a bit more of a refined filmmaker and makes films like Hairspray and Cry Baby that are a lot more conventional. Female Trouble is about a young girl named Dawn Davenport, played by the wonderful Divine. And Dawn Davenport is a huge troublemaker in school.
Here she is, Divine as Dawn Davenport, a feisty young high school girl.
The first maybe 15 minutes of this movie are some of the best things of John Waters' career. And I've even heard him say this in his commentary, that this is some of his favorite stuff. And this is basically Dawn Davenport in high school, getting into lots of shit, starting fights, eating a meatball sandwich right out in class.
Dawn Davenport is eating a meatball sandwich right out in class.
And her main objective in life is to get a pair of cha-cha heels from her parents on Christmas Day.
My parents are going to be real sorry if I don't get them cha-cha heels.
So come Christmas Day, Dawn wakes up and there's no cha-cha heels. And she loses her shit.
You ruined my Christmas!
She runs away from home, suddenly gets mixed up in this life of filth and grime. She gets pregnant from a random guy that picks her up on the street. The child she raises, she abuses. She then decides she's going to be famous and be a model for these terrible people at a hair salon. And everything kind of spirals into this giant climax where Dawn becomes a serial killer. And again, this is a huge movement from the last film, Pink Flamingos, where Divine plays a larger-than-life, again, one kind, not that it's one note, but that the character has the same ambition and feeling throughout the entire piece. We really watch this character break down, and that gets to use a lot more of Divine's acting chops throughout the film. Divine's performances were always fantastic, and I think it's notable to say that at this time, it was incredibly bold for an actor to take on a character like this when people really weren't doing that and still aren't acting this way. Divine was a man in real life who put on this female character in the films and really embodied them and embodied this sense of humor that meshes with John Waters' world so well. The Other notable people in this film, for one, you have to mention Edith Massey. Edith Massey is one of the prime examples of a John Waters character. She was in the films previous to this as well, most famously The Egg Lady from Pink Flamingos. But in this film, she plays Aunt Ida.
I'm worried that you work in an office, have children, celebrate wedding anniversaries. The world of heterosexual is a sick and boring life.
And she has one of the greatest meltdowns in cinematic history.
Ah, no, no, no! Ah, get her, no, no! Ah!
Another notable performance is Mink Stoles, who has been in every single one of John Waters' films, even the later films, and he's a really good friend of hers, and they just have a sort of camaraderie. And I think besides Divine, Mink Stole is probably one of the better actors in his canon of actors. She's able to embody different people. In Pink Flamingos, she plays Connie Marble, who is competing with Divine as the filthiest woman alive. And in this, she plays Taffy, who is this wild, kind of aimless young girl and is off her ass.
Oh, Mother, it was a horrible accident! Look at my friend! She was in a death scene, her head got caught in the windshield! Oh, the ambulance should be here soon, I think!
One of the wonderful things about these early John Waters films is that he's using people who aren't really actors, they're just kind of his friends, and a lot of them were people that he knew and were around Baltimore at the time. And the sense that you get is, yes, this is a larger than life world, and there's, extremity in every moment of it, but it's also a bit of a time capsule of 1970s Baltimore, and something that still feels real and still feels like it existed, and it truly did at this time. What appeals to me and what continues to appeal to me is that John Waters went out there and made these films himself, without a budget, without much of a crew, without a studio behind him. He was a renegade guy, and he made the things he wanted to make. And he continued to do that throughout his career, and he continued to set the films in Baltimore. He continued to use his friends and keep his sense of humor and style throughout his career. And that is, maybe one of the keys to success as a filmmaker is staying true to yourself and expressing that in your work. And there's not really many comparisons to John Waters. In the modern day, there's people like Jackass, there's performers like Sacha Baron Cohen who kind of ride that line of pushing things in public or pushing grotesque imagery, but John Waters' world is inimitable. And I think that he himself is a relic, and I was inspired by him as a child and even went to go see him speak when I was in 7th grade. And he said some amazing things. He said, if an 8-year-old is aware enough to seek out a book as disturbed as Naked Lunch, they should be allowed to read it. And he spoke against censorship, and I really clicked with that. And I think that if more people were exposed to this world, they might be able to find the humor in some of the darker things in our world. I'm also wearing my Pink Flamingos t-shirt that my wonderful girlfriend Samantha got me for my birthday last year. I am a major fan of John Waters and of his early films. I can't recommend this movie enough. I can't talk about it enough. I think the best thing for you to do, though, is just to check it out for yourself. 1974's Female Trouble.